Jessica Roberts. I am a senior exhibition artist here. My emphasis is in drawing, and I've been focusing on sentimentality and daily little moments. Each of these is a note from my life in some way, shape, or form. It all is a different point of my perspective or my thoughts, or just I collect these notes over time, and they're just a random culmination of notes I've collected from friends, family, work, just any random place. And I build up on the notes that they have already. I try to keep the original purpose of the note, but I build up my own identity on top of it. It's inspired by music. I was inspired by the genre of EDM, so like music. The lyrics will go in like random repetitive motions, and then like the dubstep or the dub, like the bass of it will just come steadily throughout the song. It creates these random formations in my mind as I listen to them. I was inspired by these formations.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Good. This is my work. There's ceramic vases that represents a forced perspective of erosion on the clay body over time, and the relationship that between organic and inorganic material. And I try to show that relationship with my work and how it flows together. For my inorganic material, I like to use the structure of my vases to represent that side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the organic material is the clay itself, because it's basically mud,
right,
just fired to a hard state.
Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm here, Fraser. So this is our work that I created about different individuals, kind of a commentary on identity and how we feel about ourselves in relation to identity. And using body language and color to further express that thought or that the feelings that we have about identity. Mm-hmm. This is my brother-in-law, and I know Jamie and Michaela from school. Same with Jada. I picked everybody because I wanted to get different viewpoints about identity from people who didn't look the same and identified differently. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of picked based on those kind of identifiers that are already placed on us by society, kind of. So, but from that, I wanted to know more about how people felt about identity and just kind of. So I would ask them. I asked all of these people questions, not together, just in individual conversations, mm-hmm. To make sure I felt like I had a better understanding of how they felt about identity, their identity in themselves. I photographed, so I would ask them. I asked all of these people questions, not together, just in individual conversations, mm-hmm. To make sure I felt like I had a better understanding of how they felt about identity, their identity in themselves. They're like already carries himself as this very confident person. I didn't have to do much with finding a position for him. It's like, this is the way that he stands and carries himself. So this was like right in the middle of the beginning of COVID. So they took the pictures themselves, gave me several pictures to choose from. Okay. And so this was one that I picked that through our conversations, I felt really further gave me an idea of how they felt about identity. So they took this picture. This was their positioning. But I chose from a variety of pictures that they sent me. This one was kind of more in the moment. We after my conversations with Jada, I just had her talking to me, and she was, she was posing a little bit, but this was an in the moment type of picture that I felt did a really good job of capturing personality and those insecurities that she expressed throughout our conversations. With myself, I just took a picture that I felt let people know that, like, I've had some struggles with how I feel about my Black identity, and but am mostly optimistic about my Black identity and just want to grow and be more in tune with myself and become more connected with people. That's what I was going with this, with the eye contact.
Hello, my name is Pearson Everett, and I do work based on various ethical ideas that people have. So things like, I guess, violence and indulgences that people have. Mm-hmm. Like my first piece is mainly about people consuming each other and the violence around that. Mm-hmm. And these are made out of polymer clay, and I've painted them with acrylics. Mm-hmm. And I've hand sewn all the clothes and put all the buttons on it, and made a wood floor for it to be like as if it's its own little environment, right, that it's been cut from. And fun fact, this is my own hair that I've put on the back of it. I think it can continue to grow because I can continue to create more little scenarios like I've been. Because I like to kind of freeze a moment in time. In the moment of an action like these, like how they're either eating or fighting each other. Mm-hmm. And I think I could continue to make different distorted people. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I love to do. So I can see myself definitely keeping this going. Well, I guess I have a website that I have all my stuff on, which is PearsonEdwards.com. Mm-hmm. Simple as that. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Raina Benek, and my work is kind of an art therapy for myself. My work is an exploration of my own feelings, of my diagnosis with depression and anxiety disorder. And so it is a way for me to communicate with other people the thoughts and feelings that I couldn't find myself to say out loud. So each of the images is, basically I had several reference materials, but I feel that each of the figures depicted in these pieces are a kind of stand-in for myself and how I was feeling at certain points in time of my life, or certain situations that I had been put in or have been in, and that kind of reflected how I was feeling at the time of those situations where I couldn't really speak what I had felt at the time. Yeah. The use of colored pencils itself for me has a lot of symbolic meaning because the way that colored pencils build up together in layers to me is very similar to how a person has different thoughts and feelings and emotions that they go through in any given day or any given situation that they may put in, and how these different thoughts and feelings blend together to kind of give them an overall emotion or an overall feeling of what they're feeling in that time period. And then each of them try to keep at least one symbolic element to each of the pieces. The water in this one, water to me in general signifies purity, but also rebirth as well. For me, water has always been a place where I felt at ease or at peace. But it's also, water can also be dangerous in that you can drown in it and you can hurt yourself in it as well. So I found symbolic meaning in that as well.
And then what about this piece here?
The chains are very important to me because it is a way for me to kind of show that I can sometimes feel bound or chained down in whatever situation or feelings that I've been feeling at the time. And the birds I've always been an animal lover, but also crows particularly and ravens also symbolize death or that oncoming of depression feelings or things that upset you, as well as the medicine has been I chose to depict the medicine mainly because one, you can have addictiveness to the medicine itself, but also the medicine has very much influenced me because there are so many side effects that the medication causes within me that kind of the way that it helps me outweighs what it causes, but it does have some side effects which aren't great either. The feeling of being bound to this medication, that this medication is one of the only things that's keeping me stable in my own head. Is kind of, it's like with society, we view medication and mental health in a light that it's, especially with anxiety meds, that it's not supposed to be a permanent thing, and that you're supposed to get over it or not even start taking anxiety meds, and that once you start, you're never going to get off of them. So having that idea of feeling bound to this medicine that it's the only thing getting me through has very much influenced a lot of my work. I feel that we should very much stop treating mental health as in that it doesn't exist. And I don't think that my diagnosis or my mental health diminishes me at all. I think that it's something that has made me a lot stronger than if I didn't have it at all. And I think that if I were to at least help kind of one person, some kind of having some similar feelings that I have ever had, then I think it's worth everything.
That's beautiful.
My Instagram is Deadly Night Creations on Instagram, and then I'm also on Facebook under my name as well.
My name is Hope Bass, and I make sculptural hollow forms. And this one is Ugga Bugga, the blue one. The yellow one is Munga, and then the red one is Foxy. And it is my interpretation of my dad's childhood friends. So he gave me the characteristics of each of them that he remembers as having them as a 4-year-old, and then I put my twists, bringing them into life. Inside each of them is a space in which displays different activities that he enjoyed doing as a kid and still to this day. So inside of Ugga Bugga is like a workshop.
It's hard to focus in there.
With tools.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Inside of Munga is different cars. The Volkswagen is to represent his first car, and then he's a firefighter.
somebody else's that he's
his whole outfit?
Yes, his whole outfit is like ancient. And he comes in, it looks like he's been in a tornado.
And then inside of Foxy are different sports balls, and they are representative of the 3 sports that you played when you were a kid, and kind of just the outdoors. I am about to have a website. It's going to be hopeass.com. I am on Instagram at hopeassart and Facebook at hopeassart.
My name is Sherry Talkington, and this is my piece. It's called Displacement, and I do work about grief and how it affects memory and identity. And this piece is about a tsunami and how it relates to diseases like cancer and how it breaks down pieces of lives. And like a tsunami, how the water would just toss pieces of people's lives just wherever into trees or just across the landscape. That's kind of what I'm trying to recreate. A lot of the physical objects, like the chairs and sewing materials, belong to my father and my grandmother. And then the drawings are family portraits and just drawings that I've collected over time. But most everything was passed down like a family heirloom. Okay, this piece is called Wavelength, and this is more about Alzheimer's, and I was trying to recreate waves and water and erosion and relating that to memory loss. And I have more clear and translucent objects up top, and then I have drawings and images of family below. It's like if you see a riverbed or the ocean floor and things settle, that's what I was trying to recreate, is memories settle into the bottom. I feel like I was really affected by loss in my life, and I wanted to represent that in my work because everybody has gone through something in their life. And whether you were affected by diseases that I'm talking about or just a specific loss in your life, everybody has memories that kind of dissipate over time. And so I wanted to make a connection with people just like that. I have a website, it's sherrytalkington.com.
Okay.
So that's where my work is.
Great.
My name is Carly Laird. My work is 4 different buildings in the town I grew up in of St. Louis, Oklahoma. I have the post office, the old high school, a church, and the old office building. This place, my great-grandma, that is 100 years old and still alive, was the postmaster for 25 plus years. Pretty much built the post office there. So,
Oh wow.
it's got a lot going to it. They all have family connections to it. So I did it in ink pen on a tone tan sketchbook to give it a vintage antique look to them.
just to help preserve them because there's some buildings there that are about to collapse. This is actually not one of them, but I have two of them that are about to collapse. This one is the old high school. My grandma was the last high school graduation class from it. Both my grandparents went there and my great-grandparents on my grandma and grandpa's side went there. But it's not being used anymore. It got shut down in the 60s, I believe, 70s. So now it's just being used as an apartment, but I believe it's actually been fully abandoned now.
Wow.
This one is the old Church of Christ. It is actually on the verge of falling down. All the dark pieces that you see on it are the paint chips that have come off of the wood. This one, my great-grandma and her mom went to church here when the town started and when they started living here. But my other one is an old office building my grandpa used for his oil field business. It is actually looks like it's gonna fall in, but it's actually preserved pretty good for right now. But it's really old, but it's being used now as a salvage yard office. But I have heard that they will be tearing it down soon. So I'm very detail oriented. That's what I've been told by many teachers, and I can pretty much figure out something, find something, and draw it from that. These are all actually, I took a picture of them with my camera and drew them from the photo.
Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Nylaina Brewer and I'm a senior art major. This is my work here in the senior exhibition. So my work is just all about the different perspectives being a Black woman in today's society and also former. So I'm speaking about like my different perspectives and what I've been through as a Black woman and what I have released from and what is no longer hindering me. And then also just going through and finding out knowledge about history of African Americans and Africans as well, and just highlighting that history, and also just honoring those people who love and support me as I am. And so the artwork that I have on display today, number one, I'll bring y'all over here. This is my sculpture of my hands, and it's just a bigger edition of my hands. But basically, what this symbolizes to me is freedom. The whole piece is called freedom. And the reasoning why is because these shackles are mosh podge, just different phrases and words of things that I have personally gone through and released from. So like some of those internal paths and personal dilemmas are like the death of my uncle who was murdered prejudiciously by a white male, and just grieving that and going through that and just releasing that. And then also just verbal abuse, being falsely accused, racially profiled. Also fear of going out of my house and wondering like, am I gonna come back home and be alive and be okay? Is my family gonna see me another day again? And just releasing those fears, releasing that anxiety, releasing those problems, and they're no longer hindering me anymore. And just sharing that vulnerability, I want to invite my viewers to reciprocate that vulnerability as well by just writing down on the base of this of what they have released from or want to or in the process of with chalk. And at the end of each night of these projects showing, I'll come back through and just wipe it away as the process of release. uncle's name was Joseph Phillips. And he was shot and killed in New Mexico. And the guy that shot and killed him, he basically just shot and killed him because he was afraid of him. He was a big black man. And he also went around traveling, selling his products and everything. And just in the environment, it was just wrong place, wrong timing. And the man who shot him was basically afraid of him because of how big he was and that he was black. And so it was a really big situation where it was in the newspaper, in the news, and we ended up getting justice. He ended up going to jail and actually dying in prison. So it was just something really big to go through, and it happened the day before Christmas. So it was just like waking up on Christmas Day, he was supposed to be there, and getting the news that we would never see him. Just envisioning what justice looks like to me, this piece is called Liberty and Justice for All. And the reasoning why is because I had found out that Lady Liberty was originally designed and modeled after Egyptian African women. And she was also originally designed to be holding broken chains to emphasize that symbol of the abolition of slavery. But because she was gifted to America during a time where they didn't support that, they threw away and discarded that idea and then Europeanized her as what she is today and what you see in New York. And they made the notion of abolition of slavery more subtle by putting broken chains at her foot, and then made it about liberty. But it's just like, how can it be about liberty if everyone in your continent, your country, isn't really liberated? And so just finding this out, I wanted to emphasize that and just emphasize how she was African and how she was a black woman. And so the pictures that I had to reference from, like you can kind of tell, but they weren't really clear. So what I did in just envisioning what she would look like was just making her look like me and emphasizing those African details. And then too, her crown, and what her crown symbolizes are the 7 seas and the unity of the 7 continents, and also the 7 freedoms. And the 7 freedoms just spoke volumes to me because it talks about moral liberty, natural liberty, religious liberty, and then also personal liberty. And personal liberty is all about being able to go out of one's house or one's country and being able to return without any restraints. And so that just spoke volumes to me. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I have to do a piece on that. I have to. So this is my ode to that. And then I also have my third and final sculpture over here, which is Passive Fist of 21 people in my life, multi-ethnic people, who just support me and love me for who I am and just inspire me in my life in some type of way. And so I just wanted to give honor to that and love them dearly. And appreciate them because they see me, they hear me, they love me, and they support me in all my endeavors. So I just had to go ahead and give honor to that and get their fist in there. And the reasoning why I wanted to position them and have it as a fist was just to kind of resemble of like the Black Lives Matter organization. And what the Black Lives Matter organization is they're an organization that advocates for the most vulnerable. And all they're trying to say, their message is that all lives can't matter until Black lives matter. So that's it. It's all about equity. What's good for that one person. And so I just thought that just spoke volumes to me. So, for one, my artwork is always going to glorify Black people. And not just because, like, that's who I am, but also because, like, we never really see a lot of Black people depicted in art and glorified in a way. We always see them either, like, oppressed or not in a negative light. And so I want to glorify them because I feel like they are the perfect expressions of art and resiliency and struggle. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful process. And I think it deserves to be shown. And I'm not going to wait for anybody else to do it. I'm going to do it. So that's what my work is all about. Yes, I'm on social media. My artwork is on Instagram at Sculpted for Greatness, and on Facebook I use the same name. I do have an Etsy shop as well that's linked. Lord, I'm over here making up words. Linked to that name. And I'm currently working on a website that will be out here pretty soon. And it will all be posted on my social media, so you'll be updated by that as well. Sculpted for Greatness. On Instagram, it has the number 4, and then on Facebook, it's spelled out completely. Sculpted for Greatness altogether.